All right, and we're off.
On this episode of DC On Screen, we are reviewing The Flash, talking all the spoilers this time, right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
When you buy Kroger brand products, you feel like you're winning. That's because they offer proven quality at lower than low prices. In fact, we guarantee that you and your family will love how Kroger brand products taste, or you get your money back. So next time you're shopping for the family, look for delicious Kroger brand products, because they'll make you all feel like you're winning. Shop now, in-store, or online. Bakers, fresh for everyone.
Welcome into DC On Screen, the podcast that's been bringing you news and reviews of the DC multiverse on film and television since 2015. I am your host, David C. Robertson. Joining me here today, my regular co-host, Jason Goss.
Hell, the guy who's been waiting since 00 for this freaking movie.
It's been in development basically 9 years.
Its first lore was in the late 1800s. Where you saw, I imagine, like its lore is like the lore of Dr. Manhattan, like recombobulating himself. At first, they saw a circulatory system, and then some bones somewhere in the late 1930s.
Right. So, the listeners of our show have gotten my high level thoughts. Let's get yours. What did you think? High level thoughts, man.
What do you call high-level thoughts?
I mean, like, did you like the movie? Like, just
the overall take?
Yeah, overall take, man.
I still have tears on my cheeks.
Okay, but that doesn't mean anything.
And under those tears are worn cheeks from fucking smiling.
Okay.
I loved this goddamn movie.
That's awesome, man.
I want to go back to the theater right now.
That's really cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
You hated it.
I didn't hate it. I'm
just discerning from your tone. You did not like this movie.
I am trying really hard not to give stuff away, but no, like I told Effie, there are things that I like about this movie. There are things I love about this movie. Mm-hmm. Overall, I do not like this movie.
Really?
It does not gel for me.
You are deeply wrong, but let's do this.
I'm not wrong. We have documented evidence that there were too many cooks in this kitchen, and that they kept changing what this movie was going to be and mean for the universe, and it might not even be anything. But yeah, we could talk about it. Absolutely, that's why we're here.
There were a lot of cooks.
It's
been a while. I don't know which cook won, but they had the right amount of salt.
I feel like they all lost.
No. I know I'm in the warm afterglow, but let's do this.
Yeah.
What you got? Bring it.
But I mean, basically, there were several things that I just didn't like. I loved Michael Keaton's Batman.
Of course.
I love that, as I said before, it basically looked like what Snyder could have done with Keaton's Batman. Like, hell yeah. Like, we had some really cool scenes, and
his action scenes were fucking phenomenal.
Absolutely. Wonderful. But at the end of the day, stuff like Supergirl, she's just there. She's there to be able to, so they actually have a chance of fighting the Kryptonians, but she's just there. There's like no character development with Supergirl at all, which is a shame because Sasha Calle killed it.
Oh, she did a great job. But I think you're missing the point there.
What was the point?
The whole point is that universe is made to be an envelope that never gets unsealed again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't get that. Like, that's a huge, huge point of the movie is you don't get to see her do anything. She has to die in that universe. And that's the major thing.
That's what has to happen, and you have to let go.
For that universe. For any other, who knows? But in her universe, Kal-El was destroyed by Zod, and she does her best to defend him and, take some revenge. But no, it's never going to happen. It's just never going to happen.
Yeah, and I get that, but it also, for me, feels like a very unsatisfactory movie. Like, I would posit maybe that's not the message they should have been trying to get across in the first place. Because, like, the way this movie ends with, freaking Clooney getting out of a car, I laughed.
Yeah, but why did Clooney get out of the car? What happened? What changed? The top shelf to the bottom, or bottom to the top shelf?
Yeah.
That's it. That's all that matters. A blade of grass, as
of course.
Batfleck puts it.
Of course. But that also means that, like, if this isn't... So if... if Barry is in this timeline right now, where Clooney is Batman again, and to be clear, just because Keaton was in it does not mean this was the Burton verse. This was a piece of another universe that overlapped in the spaghetti bowl.
Yeah,
into this one, which I like all that. That's fine. And but so we have Clooney as Bruce here, and I'm guessing that that's not where Barry stays, but they left it ambiguous because in that post-credit sequence, he's with Arthur, but the universe could still be exactly the same except for Clooney being Batman. Like, I think they left it ambiguous just in case they needed to get rid of Ezra.
I mean, possibly. They left it ambiguous for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is you may not have Clooney for a series of movies if you want Justice League. I
also don't think that they're going to... I mean, obviously they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Like in the sense that, okay, so the too many cooks sense is what you're thinking, that they didn't like have a definitive thing, because I think that's the point.
I don't think that was the point of the movie initially, because there was, I mean, we were supposed to have end credit sequences with Cavill and Godot, and there was some. And, all of that stuff with the different timelines merging with him in the Chrono Bowl, like with all the, Chris Reeve and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. That was all supposed to be like foretelling of the Crisis on Infinite Earths. There were like
once upon a time, sure, but like
yes,
those cooks left
during the shot, the shoot, like post shooting, they changed that. Mm-hmm. So yes, those cooks left, but. Their rat pellets are left behind, and we see evidence that they were there.
Why are there rats in the kitchen?
I mean, what do you want to call WB executives?
No, I mean, I visibly... There was a moment where it said executive producers, Emmerich, Hamada. I didn't even finish reading it before it went away, and I was like, fuckers. I literally said that out loud in the theater.
Yep. So, like, there were several...
I get that.
It what ultimately for me feels like it is a very uneven movie that's not quite sure what it wants to be tonally, because my God, Barry number 2 was Pauly Shore.
Where is that take coming from? That's not what Pauly Shore sounds like at all.
Oh my God, do you need to go back and watch Pauly Shore movies?
No, I don't. I grew up in that era.
Oh, he was just awful. He was like the most obnoxious character ever.
As he stated.
Yeah, hanging a lantern doesn't fix it.
I don't know. I found him endearing as far as like he grew up. He learned some lessons.
That's great. I'm glad you enjoyed him.
You were gonna hate Blue Beetle, I think, at this point.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
They showed that trailer again, and I'm just like seething at George Lopez every turn. Just
I keep forgetting it's him. Frankly, I don't care enough about him as a person to hate that he's there.
You know what? And the movie did feel uneven for me. But honestly, if the CGI hadn't been so bad, like everywhere, not everywhere, there was actually some good CGI. Like the stuff with Batman was really cool. There were like, it was about, I don't know, 60-40 bad.
Where was the bad CGI for you? Because like I had some moments for sure where I thought, it's mostly when he's in the cowl, where moments where I thought it looked like it was, not finished, I guess maybe. But other than that, it looked pretty great.
I mean, to me, whenever he's doing anything that requires effects, it looks pretty bad most of the time. Like when he puts on the suit, he basically looks like he's got a rubber neck. He's on like a static floating body. The babies falling out of the windows, like all of that just looked awful. They all looked like they were...
I'll give you the babies. They put all the money in that scene into the dog.
Yeah.
And frankly, for that credit scene, fucking great choice. Because that credit scene made me laugh a lot.
I'm glad you enjoyed that credit scene. If that meant that everything else looked good, which it didn't. Like, nothing in that Chrono Bowl looked cool.
Really?
Dude, Nick Cage looked like, everybody looks like they're from an old Xbox game or something. They look awful.
What in the hell do you expect? Like, do you actually expect to see real life versions of these people? Because that's not what got shot.
Maybe it should have been.
But it can't be. You're expecting a version of reality that doesn't exist. You might as well fucking run back in time yourself.
It depends on what you mean. Like, look, there's plenty of footage of Chris Reeve Superman and Helen Slater Supergirl. They could have actually done some shit to actually just put in real footage and not just had them like staring into an abyss of Chrono Bowl. I mean, they looked awful. I would rather not have had them than have what that looked like. And I would rather have not had Nick Cage Superman at all and had a Grant Gustin Flash, which they seriously could have shot. And also, like, everybody that he
absolutely
experiences
would have had something in the CW in that environment.
Yeah.
For sure. One of those worlds should have been like Earth Zero or Earth Prime, frankly, in this universe. Completely agree there. But like, as far as how they looked fine for what it's worth as far as the footage goes. Like, I don't know. That's not a deal breaker for me. I don't know why that was so distracting for you.
I mean, it's distracting for a lot of people.
In terms of story, it was just like, oh, we got all these extra characters and extra universes.
Well, we didn't really get extra characters. We got shots of, our childhoods, and that's fine. They don't mean anything. It didn't mean anything. I think that's my biggest issue. Like, it looks bad to me, but like, my biggest issue with it was like, none of it meant jack shit. Because, I mean, he sees a bunch of stuff. And by the way, it's a Flash movie. He just sees a whole bunch of Superman, a whole bunch of Batman. He sees one Jay Garrick who isn't connected to anything that we've seen before. It would have been nice if that was at least John Wesley Shipp or Grant Gustin or something. Stuff like that bothered me. But,
wait, hold on. Are we wrong about this? Is that not Teddy Sears? Is that not like the CW Jay Garrick before he turns into the...
into Zoom?
Yeah.
It didn't look like him to me.
I think it is, though. I think we're wrong. I think that is him.
Okay. That's a hell of a thing to pick, if that's what you picked. Like,
no,
hey, the guy who was impersonating Jay Garrick.
I'm sorry. I'm going to side on the side of myself on this one. I think that was what happened, and I think that was the CW being involved, and I'll be happy to be proven wrong. But I think that actually is what I saw. I remember seeing that right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, none of these things are like deal breakers for me. Like, I didn't hate the movie. I just overall didn't like it. Like, I love what they were trying to go for in the Chrono Bowl scenes, Like, there was a lot of stuff that I really liked the concept of. The
weirdest part for me in the Chrono Bowl part is, like, I like the kaleidoscope feel to it. I enjoy that. I even kind of love that the CGI doesn't look perfect or anything. It shouldn't. It's kaleidoscopic. It should feel fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that kind of fucks me up a little bit is, like, I don't know. It's a little bit of how, like, the physics of Flash works. Like, he can kind of just move so fast that time stops, but he doesn't actually have to be moving to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And in that sense, like, that takes a little bit more. I don't know. I have to wrap my head around that a little bit.
Yeah.
Which really fucks me up when he's actually when he has to go so fast that he can move time itself, but he can stop in the middle of that.
Mm-hmm.
Same time, I've read enough books that, like, yeah, I know that's possible. I know that's entirely within the character. It is a little weird to see, especially when it's kind of sandish, like at the bottom.
Yeah. That
part's a little bit weird for me.
That was weird.
It's jarring, but, like, it completely in canon.
Mm-hmm. And I really do. I hate the playing the what we could have had game, but, like, Andy Muschietti is driving me nuts because he's like, by the way, we almost had Linda Carter Wonder Woman. I'm like, yeah, it would have been nice to have someone in the multiverse other than Batman or Superman. Yeah, you could have done that.
Wait, I'm going full throttle on my insistence that is Flash. We had at least one Flash.
Well, yeah, he had a Flash. It was Jay Garrick, but it didn't, like, Teddy Sears is not Jay Garrick. He was pretending to be Jay Garrick.
I'm aware. Just saying. It was a whole other universe and at least
Why
one
wouldn't
Flash.
you choose John Wesley Shipp or Grant Gustin? That makes no sense.
Because they're tired.
It's Chewbacca on Andor. It doesn't make sense.
You haven't even watched all that shit.
What shit? South Park?
Wait, no, Andor. Okay, sorry. Never mind. I thought you were actually talking about Andor.
No, it's a reference to the dreaded Chewbacca defense.
Oh, the Cochran Chewbacca defense?
Yeah, the Johnny Cochran thing on South Park.
Yeah. I forget Andor isn't even mentioned on there.
It's
been about 15 years. I don't fucking know anymore.
Why would a giant Wookiee come from a planet with a bunch of little teddy bears? It doesn't make sense.
Yep. Yep, that makes sense now. That's been so fucking long, dude.
Oh, God, it's the dreaded Chewbacca defense.
If you just say enough weird things, then no one will realize you're saying something that's fucked up.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, I really do. Like, I feel like there were some missed opportunities with Kiersey Clemons. Like, she did a fantastic job.
I was
very
really
little.
just happy to see her back in, like, a full role.
I was, too. Like, there were some weird things, like, they actually, like, they had a few pieces of dialogue that would heavily suggest that this was in the Zack Snyder's Justice League canon. But then, like, you know, he was gonna, if I remember correctly, in Zack's Justice League, he was telling his dad he was gonna put himself through college at the end of that. And that doesn't work out with the timeline of whatever this is. Because he said that he met Iris in college, and then she's like, didn't I see you a few months ago? As if they hadn't. And he was like, no. And that was supposed to be a reference to him saving her in the hot dog scene in Justice League. But he would have already been, according to the Flash movie, he would have already been out of college. I'm very confused. I don't know what they were going for.
I don't know. They recast him. Apparently they recast his college experience as well.
They recast who? His dad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, you know, his parents, I didn't really feel anything from them. I didn't cry. I didn't feel like anything mattered.
All right, so his dad, no. I get you there. Like, it didn't
He's
hit
not
the
Billy
same
Crudup.
as, like, no, like, Crudup.
I like Ron Livingston, but Peter from Office Space is not Billy Crudup. I'm sorry.
I'm not fighting you on that one. I'm really not. It also makes sense about how we were joking about how, like, the comic book looked like Jason Bateman. That part they kept. Apparently that was that was them, like, creeping in saying, hey, he's going to look a little different. Oh,
I would be incredibly shocked if they put that much thought into it, because this movie does not go along with the events at all of, like, the Flash comic.
What, are you serious?
Oh, no, those people that he worked with didn't act anything like they did in that comic.
No, they were pieces of shit. They were terrible.
They were pieces of shit.
They were exactly like in the comic.
No, they were more like snarky and like
shitty. I don't know how you want to finish the sentence, but it's going to be they were terrible, just like
they
the
were
comic.
terrible. They were terrible, but they were also like reasonably like better at their jobs than Barry, because Barry couldn't get his shit together until the very end. But you know, even with that, it's like Barry learned to focus, so he's going to be like super good at everything now, as it was at the end of the comic. And then when we see him here in the Flash movie, he's like, they're like, you've been late every day for years. You shouldn't still be getting me coffee. Go get me coffee.
No, the second 2/3 of, or the second and third part of that, they're not necessarily like before this movie in the actual comic, as far as I remember. As far as I remember, like they were very shitty during the Affleck like part of that comic, and then after that, it's just like single Flash adventures. Where I don't want to. No, I'm wrong.
I know, but I don't want to have to like open the book and look at it again.
No, I'm wrong, because Jason Bateman's in the in prison talking to him a lot. So there's that. Yeah. All right. There's discontinuity there, but where it does have continuity is he has the phase effect that we didn't see him learn. Mm-hmm. Those two are pieces of shit. We got that. Mm-hmm. Singh is more shitty than he is in the actual book, so that's different.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, he's late for everything. We know about that. Well, I think that's it. I think that's it on the actual book as far as it relates to the...
But yeah, in the book, he seemed to have solved the late issue and had gotten on the good side of people.
Yeah, I don't think they have that here. I think there's that resolution happens, about a few months back from when this movie ends.
Mm.
If you got to like reconfigure everything so that it actually made sense, even though it's been printed and or filmed and displayed.
So I think, I don't think Iris got enough to do in the movie. I was glad to see her back, but I actually wanted there to be, I don't know, a story with her. I didn't feel anything for the mom or the dad. I felt like they didn't have really chemistry with each other. I didn't feel like they had chemistry with Ezra for the small amount of time we saw them with the mom and dad.
Like the mom and dad together, that's one thing. Office Space dad and the kid, like I get it. That was a cute moment. I do a lot of kidding around like that myself.
Yeah,
like that. I can vibe with that, but I will fight you to the end of the earth about how Ezra portrayed his love for that mother. Like,
yeah, I mean, Ezra did a great job when he wasn't being second Barry, when they weren't being second Barry. That for sure.
So my major qualm with the film was that he was powerless for a while. I hate that fucking concept.
I hate that trope.
People.
I hate that trope so much.
I hate it all day.
To it.
Hate it all day.
Just like that was like a chunk of Save the Cat that I detest, and I couldn't talk about it the last episode because son of a bitch, it was spoiler free.
So like Ezra, the way like all right, so Ezra's performance vis-a-vis the mom is like top notch. I fucking crocodile tears in the theater for me.
Yeah, he was fine, or they were fine. Sorry, there's a disconnect with me. Like I feel like Barry is he, Ezra is they.
Yeah, all right. That's.
And my brain will not let me distinguish it.
Yeah, it's hard to get out correctly, but yes, we do officially acknowledge those things. The but Ezra's performance vis-a-vis the mom is like it's gorgeous. Like the last thing where he's just like putting the beans on the counter or the tomato sauce or tomato whatever the fuck it is, just back on the shelf. That last scene where he just presses his head into his mom's hand, like
yeah,
holy Christ, that's fucking touching. Like
yeah, that was pretty all right.
It's like
it didn't move me, but it was fine.
It moved the absolute hell out of me. I moved theater seats. I went back 2 aisles. The people behind me were very confused. And wet.
Ew.
A lot of tears.
Yeah. I think for me, there was so much going on and yet not anything. Like Michael Shannon phoned it in. You could tell he was phoning it in like the 2 seconds he was actually acting, that he wasn't like a CG character.
I'm still very confused about the CG part of your complaints here. Like, it's a movie about a bunch of bullshit. Like, the entire movie was computers. The entire battlefield for Act 3, we'll call it, is just nothing but computers.
Well, part of the point is...
And then Michael Shannon is pretty infamously robotically Kryptonian. Like, he's not meant to make you like him.
Well, no, I don't need to like him. I would like to feel like he was there for a reason, though.
I mean, he was.
Was he?
Yeah.
Couldn't he have been in like any generic whatever?
No, he had to be Zod that killed Kara, that killed Kal-El before her.
Why?
Because that was that timeline. Like, that was the whole point of that story, was that timeline. It
was a different timeline altogether. Like, they didn't, could have been Brainiac, could have been Parasite, and instead of Kara, it could have been, fire, or ice, or, I mean, it didn't have to be any of these people. Like, none of that storyline didn't matter at all.
That's the whole point, is that storyline didn't matter.
Yeah. Including, nothing in the movie mattered, and up into including him saving his dad, because he walks out of the courtroom in his Clooney bat, so he's not even home anyway. So it's not even the dad that we wanted him to save in the first place.
I think at this point you just don't like timeline movies. Like, the whole point of that is that there are pocket universes, like little intersections, like they said, that you cannot change. It, like, that was the whole emotional turn for him in the last act, is that we cannot change this. You have to stop. And like, you have to sacrifice all these people. And it was just nice to have screen time with these people. That was the whole point for us, was like, the whole thing is a legacy movie. The whole thing is just like legacy casting and gimmicky, but that was the fun of it, was that we got to see people in their universe for a little while, just for a minute. But you can't stop it. You can't save it. You can't change it. Like, Supergirl is somewhere. Fucking Keaton Batman would have never even known, but that is their universe.
Mm-hmm.
And Keaton Batman would have just died eating spaghetti in his fucking Alfredless kitchen if no one had ever dropped by with weirdly long hair that cracked me up. But like, all of that wouldn't have mattered. It would never have had to been revisited. The only point of this was the fun of revisiting it. And then you bury it in that universe because you have to continue the others. And then when you get to the others, he still did step on a blade of grass. He did change something, even though it was small, and it still mattered. Like, he still changed who fucking Bruce Wayne was.
Yeah, but because he is that intersection point, by him moving the can, he changed the timeline. So he's once again not in the timeline he started out in. And, it's a part of the, I don't even know about timeline movies. That's fine. I think what my issue is when they don't have a clear path and they leave a movie just so clearly open. So they end it so ambiguously that they could do whatever they want, erase the character, change the character, like nothing matters.
That was the entire point of the movie. I think the problem that you're having is that was the entire point of the movie, and that's not registering. Like, the entire point of the universe at this point, the reason Gunn kept it and even promoted it was that.
No, I understand it was the point of the movie. Not only was this intended to be the message for Barry, this was the meta message for the Snyder fans at the time. And now it's meant to be the meta message for the entire DCEU.
I don't think that they were pointing that particular direction. I think it's why we've been waiting for this movie since the 1930s, like I said. But where this landed was always going to be where it landed. It's a lawn dart, dude. Like, you threw it up, you hope for the best, and it landed. But like, it didn't matter necessarily that the movie itself landed in a specific spot. It mattered more that the movie changed everything and made the multiverse possible. That was the whole point to me.
I mean, I was fine with that. Like, I liked that.
We
I liked
knew that
the
was
fact
coming.
that was fine. I even loved that line. God, the reprisal from Keaton, where earlier in the movie, Ezra had asked Barry had asked Bruce, you want to go grab some dinner, and he says, "Not tonight, kid. Maybe some other time."
Yep.
And then we have
Keaton
dying, and he's like, no, you're gonna make it. And he's like, not this time, kid. Maybe some other time. I loved that. I loved that it kept it open for anything to come back. Like, Keaton's Batman can come back. Barbara Muschietti was talking with reporters and saying, like, this, they said, like, this is, Keaton's final, no, not Keaton, Affleck's final run. And she's like, I didn't get that. Like, like, I don't know. Anything's open. Like, he might come back. That's what's great about the multiverse. So I love that concept. And like I said, I love a lot of what they were trying to do, what I felt like they were going for in terms of opening things up, making anything possible. But I also just kind of felt like narratively, it was a bit of a mess at times. And there was a little too much save the cat. I didn't feel like this villain was incredibly strong. And, after Barry's like, no, you have to let go. And he realizes that, and he makes that distinction. Like, yes, no, there are things you can't keep changing the past. He still goes back and changes the past. Like,
oh, he does, but he thinks that's the point of that. He thinks he does it in a way where he finally got it right, and he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the last scene is literally him realizing that, nope. Baby steps won't work either. Like, the villain of the movie is fucking Barry Allen.
Oh, I know.
It has nothing to do with, I forget what the actual name of that character is, but like, the villain
Dark
of the movie
Flash is what they've been calling him.
Which one?
Dark Flash is what they've been calling him on all the merchandise. I don't think he's any, it's not Savitar, it's not whatever, it's just a Dark Flash. That's it.
I can dig that. But the villain of the movie very much is the Flash and his decision-making skills.
Yeah.
And he learns from those as it goes. And then he, even at the end of the movie, like I said, tries to just correct it, but do just one little thing and finds that even that, it's the blade of grass. The whole thing is the blade of grass. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You change any fucking thing, something changes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a matter of like people not learning or anything.
I mean, by the end of the movie, he had not learned his lesson.
Oh, he very much does. Like, he's startled to find out that it's not, that Bruce Wayne doesn't look like Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a part 2 to this movie, it's still him trying to unfuck things, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I'd watch it. Hopefully they would, look, I mean, I'm not trying to be too much of a dick about the special effects. The fact is, Marvel and DC and all these other studios are underpaying and overworking VFX houses. There's too much work. They got to get it done too quickly. There's no way to, make the stuff look as good as it should. I mean, I'm looking at video game graphics from 2010. Whatever, man. If that's what we got to do. But it is embarrassing, I feel like, for me to like go to a movie theater in 2023 and pay $20 to watch that and just be like, holy crap, what are we doing here? Graphics were better 10 years ago. Apparently you didn't notice. So I'm glad for you.
Not even notice. I think you're wrong. Like, I think they look better than you think they do. But, that's a matter of like, I see red, you see blue. Like, there's no unringing that as far as like.
Yeah, that's fine. I think you're wrong.
Well, fuck you too, buddy. Love you.
Uh-huh. It's a dumpster fire, Jason. Yeah. It's a dumpster fire. It's uncanny valley.
Anyway. The parts that I agree with you on are generally going to be like him in the cowl where it looked a little disconnected at like the face. But other than that, that's all I got. Like the rest of it it's high fantasy. Like it looked as good as it can for that.
What cracked me up was like Andy Muschietti came out and he was like, for those of you saying that like the special effects like looked bad or whatever, they were supposed to look distorted because Barry sees everything like it's underwater almost, like while he's in the Speed Force. So that was by design, and I'm thinking like if that was by design, that is piss poor design. And also, there were plenty of times where it looked really bad before he went into the Speed Force, and it's like no, it still looks like it's underwater, man. He's not even in the Speed Force. He's standing over there in the corner, like by that lake, with his head like floating indiscriminately above his body with a noodle neck because he's putting on a suit. Like, ugh.
Ben Affleck is still driving around with a motorcycle covered in a cartoon cape. None of that looked good.
Some of it just looked really bad.
Some of those moments I agree with you about. I'd have to see that one again. But generally, like,
it was
the Chronoball was, I don't know. I agree with him about the Chronoball that it should look weird. But
That's
it's
fine.
the same like effect of like
the Chronoball itself didn't look weird. It was, the imagery around it looked like super weird to me. And if they had done it like, if it had been done like the history lessons, like the history lesson segments, like in Zack Snyder stuff, where it's like very clearly not like, it's like pictographs or something with programmable matter, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And speaking of which, did you feel like there was a nod to that on Zod's little programming wrist thing?
Yes. Oh, I mean, they were doing the Kryptonian technology from Man of Steel for sure. Yeah.
I mean, she turns it off, but at what cost?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was just like the Kryptonian technology from Man of Steel. And I loved that. I felt like they paid some pretty good homage to Zack's stuff. I really didn't have too much of a problem with all that. My biggest stuff was like pacing and just kind of feeling like we didn't get quite enough of character, like Supergirl, I thought we got enough of Keaton. I was actually pretty satisfied with how he ended. Of course, with Barry number 2 going back and back and back and back and back. Who knows? I mean, I guess they were fixed points, and that was the point. He couldn't never save them, but
no, yeah, that is entirely the point. I mean, even in the revival of Heroes, like a show that had so much potential but kind of petered to me. Petered. God, I said that.
Mm-hmm. You did.
My bad.
Yes, you did, Mr. Petrelli.
Even in that weird revival thing they did that I never finished, there's a moment where Hero goes back and says, like, too many butterflies. Couldn't fix it. Like, he's supposed to be like a god of space and time, for fuck's sake. Mm-hmm. Like, these things are inevitable. Like, there are things that cannot be undone. Like, Doctor Who has the same concept. Cemented. Mm-hmm. They're
fixed points.
Fixed points, yeah.
Yes.
And I don't have a problem with the concept. I like people playing with the idea that they can adjust to it and try. And I even like that there's a villain that came out of just banging his fucking head against the wall over and over again, trying. I've seen more time than you can imagine, or whatever the hell he said. Mm-hmm. It's a neat concept. I don't have a problem with the actual idea that they were playing with it.
Yeah, my thought for a second was the last time Dark Flash went back, maybe he thought Supergirl was dead and impulsively ran back to the Chrono Ball, leaving her free to pop in later. Backdoor possibilities. But you're right. Their deaths are fixed points, at least for that timeline.
I feel like there's a way in there somewhere that I would have felt better about it. I'm not sure what it is because I'm not very smart. I mean, I got all the concepts, and, it's one of those movies where, like, I'm going to, like, think about this for a minute, and then I forget this, and I start talking about this. I'm like, oh, wait, no, that's the point. Like, I'm just, like, talking through it in the middle of the cast here. But, like, I think some of it is just, like, some sort of, like, weird existentialism I have about, like, the DCU at this point, where I'm just like, what are we doing here?
Oh, that part, absolutely, I'm with you on. Like,
yeah.
This feels like it's so very Snydery as far as what was going on, that like what we're in for, and yet we know that it's kind of over. Like there'll be some nods here and there, and just getting into some cameos here. Like, yeah, we did see a little bit of Cavill. We definitely saw whatever version of Momoa that was. Very drunken, but we definitely saw Wonder Woman, like proper Wonder Woman. Yeah, and I enjoyed all the camaraderie there and the cameos, but no, it doesn't mean we're going anywhere. So in that sense, I was always prepared for this movie to tell me that we were just going somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if maybe that's something that like you're confused about, or that you're having some issues with emotionally.
It's not that spiritually maybe, but I'm just like I feel like there was no way this movie was going to be great because of so many cooks, so many changes, so many, creative U-turns and detours and stuff.
So in that sense, do you feel like they were asking too much of this movie?
Yes.
And in that sense, what did you expect?
I didn't. I expected it to be way worse, honestly.
Frankly, I'm very happy with where we are now, even if I didn't like it.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I didn't like it. Like, overall, like I said, like, there are things I loved about this movie.
I would probably watch this movie like 6 times. I loved it.
Yeah, I'll probably never watch it again.
I'll strap you down and you'll watch it with me. God damn it.
God, please no. Like I said, there are bits that I really enjoyed, and there are some tonal issues. Like, I love comedy. I love comedy. Mm-hmm. I don't mind jokes in superhero movies at all. I don't need them to be like grim, dark, super serious Zack Snyder things.
I welcome them.
Yeah. On the other hand, this was not really my kind of humor. There were a couple of things, like it was funny when Ezra number 2, for instance, screams, "This rips dick." I don't know what that means, but it was funny. But about the time that he were like looking at the Kryptonian, the prison inside of the Soviet base, and he's like, "That looks like a scratch." And I'm like, oh God, just leave me alone, dude. Stop. Like he was so uneven and so silly sometimes. I'm like, I feel like, you know what I mean?
I feel like that was on a scale though. Like early on, I mean, of course. Like we're at the magic show, the toddler, like, do it again, do it again, do it again.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the movie, he's like matured, and I think there was actual character progression there, like genuine character progress.
Oh, definitely there was character progression. It was just he was still an obnoxious ass character.
I don't disagree that he was obnoxious in his final form, for sure.
Yeah.
But
and by the end, I was like Nicholson's Joker. I'm glad you're dead.
I'll tell you this, like, I forget the phrase. It's either no one dies or everyone lives, but something like that. Like, by the time we're at the point where he's like, got the mark on his cheek and has determined that, like, no, everyone is going to live. Like, I don't know, man. We're a long way from some dude who was coming home to have his mom do his laundry so he could go on a date.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a good point. I liked that he was so determined for Bruce and Kara to live. Maybe though, and I'm actually, I think with my sensibilities, the kind of movies I like, independent films and shit that I like, I think I would. I am the problem is not that really there's no point to it. I think the problem is we wasted too much time doing other shit, and instead of getting to know or care about people like Kara or people like Iris, who, I don't think we ever saw her again, did we?
Iris?
Yeah, I feel like we should have. I wanted more time with Iris. I wanted to care about her character.
She bookends the movie, though.
Yeah, okay, 2 minutes on either side. Who the fuck cares? Like
4 and then 2.
Like, who cares, Jason? Like, they didn't give her anything of substance. Like, she's just sitting in they wasted her on jokes. Like, she's sitting there as, like, shit's falling out of cabinets and stuff. It's like, come on, man.
I mean, she was in another universe for most of the movie.
I know. Well, they didn't have to write it that way, did they?
No, but you just wanted to watch a different movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Like, I wanted to care about the characters instead of get, like, 2 minutes with each character and then act like it didn't matter.
I may be wrong about this, but I think you need to consider judging this movie for its merits rather than judging it for not being a movie that you were prepared to watch.
Oh, no, I'm judging it on its merits. I just don't think it has many.
I think it has plenty, but, like, I think you were entirely ready for, like, another movie that you were never going to see.
Well,
That's probably in another universe if you can run fast enough.
I was expecting a movie I really didn't like. Like, way more so than I didn't like this one. But what I think I'm trying to do now is, like, deconstruct the movie to a point where I'm like, these were my issues. This is why I feel this way.
Yeah.
Like, this is why I feel like it doesn't matter. Like, I feel like the Iris relationship doesn't matter because he's, at the end of this movie, he's not even in that universe. We didn't get enough of her and him.
No, but I think that's your base
care.
problem is that, like, you don't know where this universe is going. None of us do.
Well, right. But also, like, the relationships established in the movie don't matter because even on the emotional arc they tried to give us, because they just didn't give us enough to care.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. Like, what does it matter that Supergirl died? What does it matter that, I mean, we care that Keaton died because we had 2 other movies.
Just, like, stuck in the idea that, like, this universe doesn't matter because it's connected to the Snyder thing and Gunn's going to restart, so it doesn't matter anyway?
No. I'm looking at it purely from, as I just said, I am looking at the relationships and the story arcs in this movie and saying the arcs don't matter because they set it up to where it didn't. Like, we didn't get enough time with the characters to see what they were even like. Like, Barry shouldn't care about Iris at all. Like, apparently he's only met her in college and has been quietly obsessing about her ever since. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a relationship with Iris. And by the time he goes into the multiverse, he still doesn't have a relationship with Iris. He has like a tentative date?
Well, I mean, with Iris, he has, like, an actual date, and it's clear that, like, they know each other's names. Like, they both have a crush on each other. That's made very clear.
Sure. But,
for all we know, it falls apart on the first date, but, like, they're going on a date.
Yeah. But, you have, like, yes, the big emotional arc is he wants to save his mom and dad. And even though he saves his dad, that's not a real thing. Like, because he's not even in his universe. It's just stuff like that. That's like,
I mean,
none of it feels like it mattered.
In terms of the movie, he thinks he saved his dad, and that's real for him. So we get that moment watching it.
Right.
And, well, I mean, one of my biggest problems is that, like, now we're watching a different guy. But, that's
what I'm saying.
But, like, Crudup being recast is different as far as, like...
Oh, I wasn't talking about the recast. I was talking about literally another universe.
No, but, like, the recast is actually more problematic for me than the different universes. Like, in this universe, whatever the hell's going on, we get to watch Barry Allen save his dad. And, like, that is emotionally touching for me. You know, regard it however you want, but, like, you get that moment. And that's fantastic. So, like, where it lands later, I don't know. And I don't know where it's pointing toward even. But at that moment, it's a really nice thing. And, you know, over the course of the movie, he over and over again, he has to learn. And especially when, like other Barry, long-haired Barry, whatever you want to call him, is just going after this over and over and over again, trying to save everybody, trying to save Kara, trying to save whatever. He just keeps learning over and over again that he cannot undo it. And, like, for me, when I was watching that scene in the Time Bowl or whatever, I'm watching Barry cry, and he's just learning over and over again that he can't save his mom. Like, that part was very poignant and, like deeply touching for me. Like, it doesn't matter how much you want to. It doesn't matter how many powers you have. You cannot do certain things. So he just can't save his mom. So he has like a moment at the end where he actually gets to say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
This is all very touching for me. It doesn't matter where it goes later. It doesn't matter that we don't know where it goes for me. We don't know where it goes in general in the history of, like, DCEU. Like, you know, outside of talking about this movie, like me and you talking about news and stuff, like, we fucking have no idea. Yeah. Like, we know James Gunn likes this movie. He touted it several times on Twitter, but like said it was a great movie, but we don't know how much or how little will connect to anything that's going forward. Yeah. I don't know that we'll ever figure out what happened to, you know, his dad in that universe, or if George Clooney's ever going to be brought up again, or
I wouldn't.
Like Grant Gustin replaces him at some point.
Oh God. You know, honestly, I wouldn't mind if George Clooney was the DCU Batman. I really don't. I wouldn't. I like George Clooney.
I wouldn't a bit. He looked good in that scene too.
He looked good in that scene. We know he's got acting chops. We know it. You know, there's
of all the things people have said about George Clooney.
God, I've seen so many dude bros who are like, oh, they literally ended it with the worst Batman. I'm like, y'all.
Fuck you. He was great. It was a bad movie. He was great.
It was a bad movie. Like, people can't differentiate, but.
And by bad movie, I mean, it was a terrible fucking movie.
Yeah, but you know what?
But he was good.
Evidently, DC and Warner Brothers and James Gunn are very happy with this movie, because if they hadn't been, they wouldn't have just announced that Andy Muschietti was directing Batman Brave and the Bold.
Yep. Which
they just did, like, yesterday.
Yep.
So, that's happening. If they want to do Clooney, I'm down. I don't think it will be. We do know should be an older Batman, because Damian Wayne is like a Batman and Son story. Honestly, I don't know how many of the creative decisions were really on Andy. I know Christina Hodson wrote it. I don't want to blame her because she's a fantastic writer. I don't want to blame him because he's a fantastic director. I'm not exactly sure how much of this movie was scuttled. Apparently, Andy Muschietti says that there's a 4-hour cut. That was his cut.
I mean, yeah.
So I'm very curious. Like, I'd watch that shit in a heartbeat.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like I said, there's stuff I love in this movie, but you know, overall, I just didn't feel like it meshed in like tonally and pacing. It just wasn't quite there, and maybe they needed another 6 months for those effects. I don't know.
Like, tonally and pacing wise, it started funny, had a couple funny moments at the end, and in the middle it was mostly serious. I don't know. Tonally and pacing wise, it tracked for me. I'm not mad at it at all for that. One of my favorite moments was him just berating him at the guardrails of the Batcave about you don't appreciate what you have,
Yeah, I did like that scene.
but can't quite tell him. But then later, talking to actual Keaton Batman, he hears it.
Yeah, he hears it, and so like in the Chrono Bowl, when he's like going back, he's not even really trying to save Kara and Keaton. He's trying to prove that he can save his mom.
I think he's trying to prove that like you can actually fix things.
Yeah,
But that's the naivety that character required, I think, for this movie.
yeah.
It's kind of weird to actually watch. That was kind of fun, actually. Is like watch Ezra's Flash be the mentor for a little while, because dear God, every scene you see him in with somebody else, it's he's taking the advice and so on, but in this sense, he's trying to guide this other Flash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it could have been really. I think maybe this movie would have worked better for me if it was like the second Flash movie. Like if we had seen the first Flash movie with Ben Affleck mentoring Barry, and then the second movie with Barry mentoring a younger alternate universe Barry, that would have felt more cohesively sound to me. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and in a universe where we got everything we wanted, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Instead, you got 45 seconds of that in the first ZSGL, and this is the second one.
And I love that they wasted some of Batfleck's time with another bit involving the freaking lasso of truth, like Justice League. Like,
oh, that was a great send up. No, I enjoyed the fuck out of that as a send up.
And they even went as far as to be like having him talk about like just beating up poor people and shit. I'm like,
no, if I just actually like solve poverty, I wouldn't have to do this. Like, but I know how cheap that was as like a reference point, but it made me laugh.
It actually made me a little angry.
Really?
Because I'm so sick of that stupid meme.
It's a stupid meme because it's actually kind of true.
I mean, yeah, but we don't have to like. The fact is, like in the comics and in several different iterations, like Bruce Wayne does a shit ton to try to like help the poor. Outside of just being Batman, he's not just running around like beating up poor people and shit.
No, I know entirely. But like in the real world, if there were more resources, then there wouldn't be as much crime. Like that's how actual crime works.
Yeah.
Like I get the reference point is all. And my favorite part of that is like when Flash like wants to talk about it for a second, he's like, just don't. Like,
yeah, just let it go.
Just let it go.
So yeah, like you said, the theme of the movie, let it go. And I think I will let it go. Okay.
Make you watch this with me monthly.
No. And then like Barry, like the old like let me be embarrassed in front of Wonder Woman for being a virgin thing. Like, oh my God, dude. Like,
because he's like 25 minimum, and that's like a weird thing to like talk about. But
there is the lasso of truth is like. You ask a question with it and they answer, they can't lie. Like, it's not just like, let me say all these random ass thoughts just because the lasso of truth is on me. Anyway, but there should be some kind of intention behind it.
Not in canon, I agree with you. In film, it's a little bit funny, and I'm willing to go with it.
I know. It's just a little bit funny, but also with really dumb jokes.
Yeah, but that was like 20 seconds.
It felt like an eternity to me.
25 max.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, man? Maybe I'll watch this movie 7 or 8 more times, and in 8 years I'll be talking about it like I talk about Man of Steel now, as opposed to how I talked about Man of Steel at the beginning of our show, and I didn't really like it very much. Maybe it'll grow on me. Maybe it's a grower, not a shower for me.
Please message me if you want me to kidnap Dave, make him watch this 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
Privately, obviously. Don't give him a heads up.
I'll just fall asleep.
I would say that's easy, but like when you fall asleep, you're just like a giant. So that would be harder, frankly.
What do you mean?
Like you're heavy and lopsided. It's weird.
So
I don't think I can actually carry you out to like the truck.
No, I'm saying I'll fall asleep when you're trying to show me the movie.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's good. Now
You're not gonna make me watch it again.
I'm gonna set up a TV in the truck bed. Start to show you. Drug you just a little bit. Then we'll drive off. Put you in a certain facility. Make you watch it again. From scratch.
You will not make me watch that CGI from 1984 again.
You say 84 and it's like you don't remember Clockwork Orange.
Oh, of course I remember Clockwork Orange. Malcolm McDowell, come on. I know what you're referencing.
What I really mean is 86 because I'm thinking of Star Trek 4.
Oh, true.
But yeah. Like ironically, the time travel sequence where they're going back in time and they start seeing like visages of themselves from the future that have yet to happen. But also somewhat already happened because they're in the future going back to the past. They're just these like really awful CGI like mannequin versions of them that like appear out of clouds and shit. And yeah, it looks a lot like a lot of CGI in this movie.
Beautiful.
Especially the Chrono Bowl stuff and the babies.
Mm-hmm.
The babies were just horrible.
The babies were bad. I'm not going to fight you on that one.
The babies were so bad. Oh, God.
You'll see them again. I'm going to get those little hook restraints that like pull your eyelids up. It'll be great.
Yeah. No.
You'll be good.
Even with that dog at the end, which, hey, if you guys are trying not to like waste money on special effects you don't do that. But
that dog was phenomenal.
That shit looked like Super Pets.
It was fantastic.
If it had been in Super Pets, I would have been happy with it.
Don't listen to him. It was fantastic.
It
actually did make me laugh. I saw him again.
You're easily swayed by a dog.
I am. I'm not going to say that's not the source of that. And it looks so happy. Honestly, when it reached for the burrito, mid-death, as far as it knew, it was like, yep, that's dog. That dog's dogging.
Now, I'll tell you what's
in
stupid.
His last couple seconds, dogging.
Yeah. You know, like I said, like you guys know, clearly I have my issues. But what's stupid is these idiots who are like trying to make something out of the fact that Ezra put a baby in a microwave.
Are people actually trying to make that a thing?
Oh yeah, there were a few people. There were people sharing reversed images that make it look like he's like a mother is screaming and he's putting the baby in the microwave. That's what they're trying to say it is, and trying to get people not to see the movie because whether or not it was trolling and reversed, there was no call for Ezra Miller to put a baby in a microwave in the first place.
Okay. All right, I'm going to say this definitively. Dave's thoughts aside about whether you should see this movie. If you think
you should see it
at any point that you shouldn't see this movie because Ezra Miller put a baby in a microwave, that is some absolute transphobic bullshit, and fuck you.
Uh-huh.
Like, that is... I can't even continue that beyond that sentence. Are you fucking kidding me? That is people making up shit just because Ezra is a they. Fuck you.
Yeah, pretty much. Or, well, maybe not necessarily because of that. You know, there are plenty of people that, like, you know, would have been, if Zack Snyder was making this movie, they would have been like, you don't understand the context of the scene. He just put a baby in a microwave so that he could move it. Yeah. But because it's not Zack Snyder, they got to shit on it. They've become that which they hate.
Yeah.
Now,
if you live long enough, I fucking hate that phrase.
Yeah. So to be, you know, I'm trying to be fair to these people. They're not necessarily transphobic. Some of them just are okay with double standards and treat every director who's not Zack Snyder like shit.
That's fair. I'm going to stick with my theory on some of them because
Well, yeah, some of them. Me, look, man, I wanted to like this movie. I wanted to like it a lot more than I did. I would absolutely watch a 4-hour cut. Release the Muschietti cut is what I say. But
add it to the list.
Add it to the list. Schumacher, Snyder. We got Snyder. Ayer.
Ayer.
Yeah. Let's And I am legitimately happy Kevin Smith was happy. I did laugh at the giant spider Nick Cage Superman was fighting.
How do you not? Like, if you don't know that reference,
I did.
that's fine. But, like, we do. And I laughed my dick off in the theater. It's still there. I've got to retrieve it later.
If you don't know why, John Peters wanted Nicolas Cage's Superman to fight a giant spider at the end.
Goddamn right he did. And it was a terrible idea. But it was nice to see it just now. And I don't know. Maybe he was right. Maybe
and that was a Kevin Smith movie. So it was a movie Kevin Smith wrote and Tim Burton was going to direct.
Yeah.
And look, man, you know, I'm glad he finally got to see that. Nick Cage finally got to be Superman for a second time, or however many times he's actually cameoed as Superman
really,
somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's cameoed before, but like for the first time, really, like in the real sense, I feel like that was. Well,
it depends. Here's the rub, though, because in this version, you saw him kinda. It was really CG'd, but you saw him.
Oh, that was Nick Cage. The GA would know that was Nick Cage.
Yes, they would know that was Nick Cage, but you didn't hear him in the Teen Titan Go movie. You heard him, but you didn't see him. So I think between the two, he has officially played Superman once.
We got him. That's fair. We got him.
And yes, I would have changed that scene in a heartbeat for some Grant Gustin love. Oh, by the way, here's a thing I'm surprised you didn't mention.
Who would have cared? Another 4 seconds. Just add it.
Here's the thing I am really surprised you didn't mention.
What?
This movie nullifies the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover.
Why? How?
Because Barry doesn't understand anything about the multiverse. Keaton Batman has to explain it to him. Which means that whichever version of Ezra Miller crossed over with Grant Gustin, maybe it was the Justice League version of Ezra Miller's Flash, but it wasn't this version because this version didn't understand anything about the multiverse, whereas in Crisis on Infinite Earths on CW, he crossed over, met Grant Gustin's Barry Allen, and said, Victor told me this was possible, or I told Victor this was possible, or whatever the hell he said. But he totally knew about the multiverse. He experienced it. And that was how he got his name.
I mean, you're not wrong. I just think he got distracted.
I'm going to say this is Justice League. Crisis was Justice League version.
Just forgot.
Why would you forget that?
I don't know. I forget where my keys are most of the time.
That's a little different, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah. It's pretty different.
Now,
of course, what would be fun is if like they do a sequel and you have like Affleck's Batman like pulling him out of some rift or something and being like, ever since you changed time, you know, when we were fighting Steppenwolf, you've been popping in and out of different universes. He's like, did I say my dad? Your dad died in prison, Barry.
Nice.
Just make it the darkest timeline. Like, sorry, Barry. Like, why does the world look like shit? Because the nightmare happened. Yeah. You know, like in that thing that happened. What thing? Well, I don't want to say Justice League 2 because we're in universe right now.
But the fucked up thing, that happened.
That thing that Victor saw.
Can you imagine a fucked up thing? Okay. Well, that's real.
Remember how I told you came back in time one time and woke me up and was like, it's too early? Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah. I think this movie does open it up for plenty of Elseworlds and plenty of multiverses and you know what's great?
Oh, I'm waiting.
I think
you've hated it so far, so I'm waiting.
No, I haven't. That's just what we've been arguing about because you want to make really insulting insinuations that I didn't grasp the concept of the movie or that I'm just judging it based on what I wanted and all this horseshit.
Yeah, of course, because that's what's happening. But it's also because that you hated the movie. But yeah,
I didn't hate the movie. I didn't hate it. What's great is that people are going to fans are going to work on this movie with deepfake software and stuff and make it look phenomenal.
I started to bring up deepfake earlier when you were like, "Oh, the CGI," I was like, "Well, honestly, thought about that."
Have you noticed that like every time there's like an episode of Mandalorian or something with Luke Skywalker or whatever, like
and the defect comes out like 3 days later, and they're like, "Oh my god, this looks fantastic."
That's like the best looking thing ever. Why didn't they do this? I don't know, because they don't care, because Disney doesn't want to spend money. Like, okay, that sounds oversimplified.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm at least giving a reason for that. I know the VFX weren't up to snuff. Like, I know what happened. Now, here's what's something stupid though. Like the fans who are like, they are desecrating the memories of these dead actors. This is gross and reprehensible. You dumb fucks.
Oh, that's a hard fuck you. Yeah.
The people, like their family members, their estate said yes. It's not like they're just taking their image without permission. They had to ask people who run these estates if they can use Christopher Reeve. They had to say like, hey, can we dig up Nick Cage and put him on the Superman doll? Like they had to say all this shit.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine.
Nick Cage is dead, right?
No. Yeah, 2021. Skateboarding accident.
I heard he was left behind a while back.
No, it's been a while, and we all mourned him. He went out
right.
well.
Well, yeah, he was a national treasure.
Yeah. His last words were "Let's go,"
and he was gone in 60 seconds.
Yeah. Frankly, I can only aspire to such an ending myself.
Yeah, I mean, not many
they did
of us
memorialize that skateboard park after him. Frankly,
yeah. I mean,
in Burbank, I suppose.
So how exactly did he die? Did he fall and tear his face off?
No. It wasn't even a hard slope. He just cricked his neck just wrong, just slightly.
That's too bad.
He was trying to do a little half pike, one of those like 8-inch things, and just fell just the wrong way. Yeah, cricked it.
That's too bad.
Yeah. The helicopters they weren't fast enough.
Yeah, that's sad. Anyway, I can't think of more Nick Cage movies to throw in as puns. So, like trying to work in Con Air, I've already said
his
Face
fellows
Off,
from Red Line were not fast enough. Their shift hadn't started.
Yeah, so God of War.
He couldn't leave Las Vegas fast enough. His neck broke 8 millimeters.
Mm-hmm. Can we stop?
Yep.
Please?
For the love of God.
Okay. I'm sorry you think I hate this movie. You're like one of our listeners now. You hated this movie.
I think you do dislike this movie more than it deserves. But yes, I love this movie too.
Yeah. I probably,
you probably think I like this movie more than it deserves. So like, it is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. But I think, I'm not sure it's the movie's fault. Like, that's the thing is like,
well, that's where I disagree with you though, is like, judge it by its merits.
Well, yeah, it's just, there's just stuff that fell flat for me. And that's all there is to it. I, loved so much of it.
In terms of fell flat, I literally just had like the little thingy fall off my table for no good reason.
Right.
Sorry about the sound effects.
When we're talking about like overall stuff, like I feel like there's going to be more stuff that's like I'm going to complain about and say I didn't like, but like when you turn around, like just me talking about like, oh, there was so much stuff I liked, and then like all these things come to mind. Just Michael Keaton jumping around and like throwing the pizza cutter, and I actually did laugh when Second Barry did his little annoying laugh. When he just looks down at the pizza cutter, like, lodged into the cabinet right next to him, he's like, oh, like, this is cool.
Like, kind of an, oh my fuck, really?
Yeah. So, like, that kind of stuff, like, I really, really liked.
Yeah.
And there was a fair amount that I appreciated about it and enjoyed.
Yeah.
They got so close in so many ways.
Yeah, I don't think you like misunderstand this movie or anything. It's just I think you'll enjoy it more, or I can enjoy it less. I don't know. I'm curious to see it like a month or so when we can watch it again. I'm curious to see what our second take is.
Look, sometimes I'm going to be on the side of the critics here. Like, I feel like the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes is probably fair. Audience score is way higher. It's like 88% or something. So, you know, I might be in the minority.
I'm typically with the audience score on stuff. Like,
I usually am.
but I'm not trying to be like Pollyanna. I'm not trying to be a fucking film critic either. Like, did I enjoy it? Did it make sense? Did it make me happy? Yeah. No, check all three for this. Like, I'm good. I enjoyed my experience. I spent 2 hours and 24 minutes, or whatever the fucking runtime is, laughing and crying at times. Like, I enjoyed the fuck out of this movie.
It's like for me, I'm watching it and it's like, you know, it's like visiting, you know, like an old grandparent who's a war veteran. You know, you're like, are they hobbled because of the war? Yes. Do you love them? Yeah. Do they make you happy? Yes. Also, does it make you think about all the atrocities he had to go through? Yes. Is he a little bit racist? Yeah. Like, most days 60-40, I'm not going to go spend time with him. You know, like, I need a break.
Yeah, I get that part.
So, like, when I watch this movie, I'm, like, seeing snippets of other drafts. Like, you know, over the years, we've heard rumors of stuff that was in this movie. And you can kind of see where those things would have fit. And then, like, also, like, the people have just been, like, very, very out about, like, cameos. Like, Muschietti's been talking about cameos that they almost had and didn't have. And by the way, there were so many fan screenings, I got spoiled early.
Oh, I know. That's part of the problem, I think.
I didn't even get to, like, I wasn't even trying.
I mean, I genuinely think that's part of the problem. Like, I wish you, like, lived in my world where I completely abandon parts of the internet so that I can just, like, watch a fucking movie. Because, like, I have a sense of wonder leaving things.
I had a sense of wonder. I was like, I wonder how they thought that was good enough.
Whereas, like, you have, like, a month and a half or more to be like, well, I mean, what did it make sense to bring that in?
Yeah. Yeah. Like it was like 2 days. 2 days before I got to see it. And I had a notification from Facebook and I went over there and
that was the first mistake.
Like, I don't like follow anything on Facebook really, so I don't really, but yeah, someone had just like was like, this is bullshit, and posted really bad screenshots of Chris Reeve and Nicolas Cage in the movie.
I mean, yeah, but then you're
damn it,
watching
I've been so careful.
As a Facebook post later.
I know.
It's going to color you. Like, it's going to color your perception.
It might.
It will. Absolutely will.
I mean, but I'm also, like, capable of watching a thing and deciding whether or not I like it.
100%. But, like, your brain's not
like, within context.
Not, like, brains can't undo this kind of thing. You see something in a certain light, you can't undo it. Like, it's the same way, like, if you have a dream about, like, a memory for from a long time ago, you're going to rewrite that memory. Like, your brains are stupid, is my point. Like,
yeah,
we make bad decisions.
Well, I guess I just didn't like the movie because I'm stupid and I was influenced by social media and I didn't understand the film. And
because of Facebook.
Oh God, yes, you are a Snyder fan.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah, I get it. And I forgive you. I forgive you, Dave.
Forgive me for what?
For being on Facebook.
I don't even forgive myself for being on Facebook. It's so obsolete to me, it didn't even occur to me that I would have seen something there.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought it would all be like old people being angry about Netflix existing. Is this what mostly is?
Yeah. And Lord, they're in for a fucking nightmare if they learn about the other streaming services.
Oh, they know about them. Because they're all angry because shows keep getting canceled on network and going to streaming services. And they think it's like the network, based on what they say, they think the network is like canceling it so that they can start raking in the money on a streaming service. And I'm like, that's not how it's working, y'all. Like, they canceled it because it's not working for them.
Because
it's not making the ratings.
No one was watching. Like,
and then
they sell it because other people might watch it over there, and they make money.
And then Netflix or a streaming service contacts the production company and says, "Hey, can we want to air this?" Now, sometimes the network owns it, but then other times they don't. Like, this like so complicated. It's not like just a senseless cash grab like they think it is.
It's really as simple as like, oh, this isn't, I know we own it, but it's not making me any money right now. Hey, you want to rent this for a little while? Cool. All right. How much? That sounds good to me. Cool. You can have it for a year.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah. Anyway, you have anything else you want to diminish me on?
Do I want to admonish you more for not liking this film?
Yeah.
No.
You want to come up with more reasons I didn't enjoy a thing I desperately wanted to enjoy?
No. I think I've run out.
Okay.
But I will say with the absolute deepest sincerity that like I really did enjoy this film, and I know there are parts you enjoyed. I know you didn't like fucking hate this film, but I think there are parts that you might feel better about later. Is all that I was really trying to say. But if not, hey, shit, it's gonna go in another whole set of fucking films anyway, so who cares?
Also, yeah. I mean, the whole point of the movie is nothing matters. So
yeah, I think
the point of the movie is nothing matters. Let go.
No, I think that is the whole point. Is like I'm okay with the nothing matters, and I enjoyed this, and you're like nothing matters, so fuck it. Is that the recap of this entire podcast?
Yeah, you see it as a positive. I see it as a negative. I think, and also, I think I have better eyesight because I can tell when VFX are really bad.
I mean,
and I tried really hard to not think that. I saw the trailers and I was like, man, some of this doesn't look good.
Yeah.
I'm not going
to fight you on that. Your VFX notifications are always better than mine.
Yeah. And I'm not even the guy who generally cares. Like, I watch old Star Trek and Doctor Who. I don't give a shit. But like, budget is budget, but when I'm seeing like a $200 million movie that I know had like 3 years to be made, it's kind of like, what are we doing here? Also,
oh, that's where the Too Many Cooks came in for you. Like, we had so many years. No, that's where I give it less credit. Like, yeah, there was so much time that like this is what we could do.
Well, the Too Many Cooks thing also is like, Walter Hamada was in charge, and they were gearing towards Crisis, and they were going to do this, and Barry was supposed to have visions of Crisis on Infinite Earths throughout the film.
Fuck him. Cool.
And then it got cut, and then they changed it to something else, and then it was supposed to be something else.
Quick,
and then they
Emmerich,
cut that.
kumbaya, fuck you. Cool.
Yeah, it's like they just couldn't. Whatever. We were going to do this thing with DeLuca and Abdi, and then Gunn came in, so now it's time to fuck them and their plans, as you say. So it's just, we had at least 3 or 4 different people just while the Muschiettis were running this thing that came in and changed what they were going to do in this movie.
Yeah.
And no, I don't think that makes for a good cohesive movie. And I was seeing, just being by the fact that I am so closely tied with DC News and keeping up with some of this stuff, like, I know perhaps too much. Like, I know certain storylines that they were doing. I am seeing remnants of those storylines, and I'm like, yep, they repurposed that. They repurposed that. Yep, that's changed. Yep, that's not what they were going to do.
I mean, I get
maybe that messes with me.
I'm sure it does. For sure. Like, it can't not, if that makes any sense.
But then again, I feel like before I did all this, before DC on Screen, I would watch a movie and go, this feels off, and I'm not sure why. And then years later, I would like be digging into it and go, oh, that makes sense. That's why I felt like that was off, because it was off.
I mean, yeah, and that's understandable. I wouldn't argue with you about like whether this was the mother of many children or the child of many mothers. I mean,
it's the mother of many children.
It actually may be that too. You saw that little piece of spaghetti. But
it's the old lady in the shoe, damn it.
But yeah, like it may have many origins and may have gotten down to a certain point, but as it stands, all of that aside, if we knew nothing,
yeah,
I think the film like held together as like an actual just movie. Like if I knew nothing else, if I'd just taken my like 13-year-old cousin who didn't know a goddamn thing about anything to this movie, they would have thought that like it held together. And it's not, I don't know, it's not that it's that disparate for me.
Mm-hmm.
I do completely get that it comes from a lot of places and a lot of fucking false starts. Like if there's a fucking movie in our universe in all of the DC on-screen history that has ever gone through through more fucking false starts, I can't name it. This is the single most problematic pre-production film of all time.
Yeah.
In our history.
But, you know, to be fair to the film, I'm also sitting there going, like, from time to time grinning and going, you know, I just watched a movie that had Michael Keaton, George Clooney, Ben Affleck, Adam West, all playing Batman, or all Batman in the same movie, basically. George Reeves, Christopher Reeve, Henry Cavill were all, and Nicolas Cage were all Superman in the same movie.
Yeah.
I just watched that. There's still that. Like, yes, they look like shit.
And at least one Wonder Woman.
Giggle. Yeah. But yeah, there's still like that bit of it where I'm still like, I can't believe I saw it. And I'm happy I saw it, even if it looked like crap. And man, I wish it had been better. There's also like I feel like if this had been a Marvel movie, I would have given it more of a pass. But because DC movies are so universally shit on,
no, they're over-scrutinized and they're scarce. Like, when we get one, we're like, oh my fucking God, we have a fucking DC movie.
Oh,
Thank
that's
Christ,
a good, you know.
After all this time.
Do you remember that bit in Doom Patrol where Vic is a kid and he's in the toy store and he's just like tossing toys in the floor because they're not black?
Mm-hmm.
And then the manager gets onto him and they're going to call the cops or whatever. And his dad is like, why are you can't just throw them on the ground. He's like, I just wanted a black toy. And he's like, we can't afford to mess up. That's what I feel like about DC. Like, we can't afford to mess up. They can't afford to be a little, you know, lackadaisical with their storylines or with their graphics or whatever. Because when Marvel messes up, it's just like, oh, well, look, Marvel might be on the decline. Anyway, the next movie's going to make $1 billion. When DC messes up is one more fuck up for DC. They just can't get their shit together. They're the worst. You know what I mean? Like, there's like an emotional component for me. So like when I see a DC movie not do well in certain areas, like it really bothers me. Because I love DC. I really want it to be great.
I agree with that. But on the other hand, like, we live in an era where the expectations are ridiculous. Like, the Marvel situation has made the expectations ridiculous. So, on the one hand, I completely agree.
And people have been really shitty towards Marvel movies lately, too. So.
Yeah, but, like, that's age. On the one hand, I completely agree. Like, put your best foot forward, man. On the other hand, like, I can't afford, in certain ways, to like not appreciate what we have as far as like a Flash movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't afford that emotionally to not see this movie for what it is as far as how much I enjoyed it.
Right.
Like, it has flaws. You're not wrong about most of what you said, but I'm also not wrong about having enjoyed it and like it being really good for what it is. So the scarcity of the DCU at this point, it does and doesn't affect how much I want to enjoy something. Like, also, this is kind of the end of an era as far as how much we know that things will affect what's coming up. So for what it is, I enjoyed seeing these little bitty cameos and this little bit of Ezra that I don't know. I really don't know. Like, yeah, Andy said it's going to come back. I don't fucking know.
Right.
I mean, we had Cavill for like 6 weeks. I don't know.
Well, yeah, that we don't know. We don't know. And that's, we don't know anything. The more we know we don't know anything, the better off we are as a society.
Yeah, true.
Because I feel like most people are dicks and bullies because they think they know everything. But really, honestly, look, there's this meme going around, and it's still going around. It's still perpetuating, where it's like a picture of Cavill and it says Henry Cavill, Black Adam, and then they've got Ben Affleck, The Flash, Wonder Woman, Shazam, Fury of the Gods. The last roundup for the Snyderverse guys, and I'm like, already that's out of date. That's the irony is destroying the powerfulness of your little meme here, because she's in the Flash. It's already outdated, and she's in the Flash. You're an idiot. We don't know what's happening.
That was a couple years ago at best. Good try.
We don't know. Henry Cavill can get on his little Instagram and say, my time in the Cape has passed, because he's sad. Okay, that's fine. But he doesn't know. He doesn't know. We don't know if James Gunn is going to be around in a couple of years. He might royally screw up Legacy. Something might happen. Zaslav might decide you didn't make enough money.
We know he has 3.5 on his contract, but...
Yeah, he has 3.5 years left on his contract. That's it. 10 years of movie plans. Nobody knows the future.
No.
Anywho, I think what I'm really trying to say is nothing matters.
And
you just have to let go.
Okay, cool.
You just have to let go.
Yeah.
Everything does. I don't even think I'm going to name this episode Flash Spoiler Review. I'm just going to call it Nothing Matters, Let It Go.
That's fine. I have some Nietzsche on the on the shelf over here. Do you want me to pull it out and start reading? Or?
Well, normally I'd say yes, but we're like an hour 40 into this
Cool.
recording. I think we got to wrap it, but
That's fair.
yeah, there was stuff I really loved, and ironically, I talked about most of that stuff in the spoiler-free section.
See, I feel like I didn't get to enjoy that with you.
Yeah, I know.
That's fine.
But you know what?
Well,
Effie didn't like it either,
yeah,
so you wouldn't have enjoyed it.
I explicitly didn't listen for that reason, but yeah. Just because I didn't want opinions before I actually saw it. But
yeah, we also talked plenty about how I didn't like it. So yeah, it's all right. It's just an overall thing, and you know, I'll probably watch it a couple more times at least, and
at least the once I have
see how I feel.
I have zip ties. We'll see you soon. You know.
You know, you don't really need the zip ties as long as you just say, "Hey, I'm buying some crystal or something."
That's fair.
You know, like
okay.
You don't really need to kidnap me. You can just be like, "Hey, we've got to watch The Flash, but I'll buy you Taco Bell." I'll just say yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's more fun, but
which one is more fun? The zip ties?
just gonna leave that unnamed for a moment.
Oh God, it's The Flash all over again. Just tell me what universe I'm in. All right, guys. Well, Jason, I'm really happy you liked it so much.
I really do.
I'm happy. I'm happy that so many people seem to. Really, I didn't want to be on this side of the fence.
I think he'll come back over sometime.
Well, maybe. But for now, we're gonna call it. And I don't know. We've got stuff on Patreon. I just got a copy of the Batman 89 comic, and since that what we saw in The Flash was not technically Burton-verse, that means I could gleefully read Batman 89 and not worry about how it is contradicted by The Flash in any way.
Mm-hmm.
So that is awesome. And we were going to talk about that on Patreon. We're still doing Comic Castaways. That's a lot of fun. Patreon.com/DC on Screen. $5 patrons get all the extra content. And that's it. That's all. You got anything?
Yep, let's call it.
Am I done? Cool.
We'll continue this in another universe.
Until next time.
Another little piece of broken spaghetti.
Man, that scene made me hungry for real.
It did not. That was not good looking spaghetti.
I was hungry, and I was a little like, that was like my big point where I was like, I related to Second Barry, because he was like, oh, yeah, here you go. Oh,
I did like the joke about, like, is it a metaphor of it? No, that was just Parmesan. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you said, "Am I the Parmesan?" or something like that.
Or maybe, maybe it was like, "Am I the Parmesan?" No, the metaphor's over. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? The audio was really low in my theater. I did have to like really strain to try to like pay attention to what was being said. Maybe that negatively impacted me somewhat.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're wrong about that. The audio was a little hard sometimes.
Yeah.
The dialogue, I mean.
And I had a kid behind me who had like a cup of ice and just kept slushing it constantly.
That's a problem.
And I just, oh my God. I was like, dude, you are killing me. I'm like that Seinfeld bit. I gave him the quarter turn. I gave him the half turn. I gave him the full turn with the eye roll. Beyond that, I'm risking a punch in the nose.
I forgot about that.
All right. Thank you for listening. Write in, let us know what you thought about it. And until next time, keep some DC on your screen.
Hey, thanks for listening to DC on Screen. Our theme song is by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford of Galactic Engineers. The incidental music is by Michael Shackelford and Kevin MacLeod. You can rate the show on Spotify or rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Doing that really helps push our show to new listeners, so your help would be much appreciated. You can also contact the show at DC On Screen on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or email us at dconscreen@gmail.com. To become a patron and get ad-free episodes and exclusive content, go to patreon.com/DCOnScreen. Your reviews and feedback may end up on a future episode of DC On Screen. DC On Screen is a production of Maladjusted.tv in association with Stranded Panda. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever damn platform you use.